All right, good afternoon. We're going to continue forward with Gem Wars. What we're going to add to the game is we're going to add groups and then also a particle effect for when lines are scored. So let's start with a particle effect. The first thing I want to do is create a new game object to house this, and I'm just going to call this my, well, we're going to have two particle effects. We're going to have one which is like a piece placed effect, and then we're going to have another one which is called line bust effect. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and add a effects particle system to this. Now, when this thing starts, it doesn't really have any sort of idea of what's, so we need to define properties for it. Let me make sure that I go the correct direction with this. Yeah, we want to go at like a solid 20 on this particle effect for the z-axis. And this one's going to be for when we place an object. So what I want to do is I want to change the shape of this to be maybe like a, well, cone is good. And we want to rotate it vertical. I'm going to do this in 3D so I can actually see what's happening. So currently the area that that's being dispersed in is, that's not the angle I want this one. So we want to put this at -90. Just at 90, -90. Okay. And so for our particle effect, what I want to do is I want to use this texture sheet animation here. So for this, I need to specify a texture. So let's go ahead and create our texture. If I look in my resources under game, we have two sparkles here. We'll open them up in Photoshop. Okay, that's the first one, and the second one is here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new sprite sheet. So if I look at the size of this, it's at 400 here, and this one's at 500. So we'll make a new sprite sheet here, and we're going to do a 500 times 4. So we want it to be 2000 by 2000. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new image here with a size of 500 by 500. And I'm going to create my, new sprites. So that's the first layer, and the second layer is this one. And then if I look at these two, we'll create a folder and drag them into this, and I'm going to call this frame 1. And when I look at this layer here, I want to resize that. Is there a resize tool? I don't think so. I think it's just a crop tool. Yeah, I didn't think there was. Okay, so what I want to do now is take this layer and we're going to cut this out and bring it over here. This is so annoying. Okay, and I want to change the size of this to be like Well, okay. We'll do this with the new size of 72 here. And we'll put this at 200. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing with this one. Put that at 72, and as a transparent, change the size to be 250. We'll do 300. It's a little too small. So we'll change this size to be 400. Something like that. Now, for these particles, I could have this thing have some kind of an animation, but I think it's going to be so small, we don't necessarily need it. If I wanted to do that, we're going to say that this is frame 1. We'll create another one here for frame 2. And we're going to do kind of the same thing. So I'll bring this into a new layer. Ugh. I don't know why they changed it so that it defaults to non-transparent. It is super annoying. And now, if I change the size of this, we were at 400 before. So 500 should be fine. Okay, and now this one, I want to make a new image with this. And change its size to be 300. And then we'll make a new frame called frame 3. And in this one, this is the same size. I mean, it's been one way the entirety of the application, and now they change it. And we want to leave that size the same. And this one will be full size. Let's change this image to be 350. And now we need one more frame, which will be frame 4. And what I want to do is the copy of this one and we want to change the size of this to be 450. And then this other sparkle, which is the last frame in our series. We want to change this to be like 250. Okay, so those are our 4 frames. So now we're going to export everything. And I'm going to say that this is my project called Gem Wars. I'm going to make a new file and assets for this. And I'm going to say that this is my particles. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to export these two layers. Throw away layers to files. And we're going to make a new folder in here called Particles. I'm going to call this Frame 0. Okay, I'm doing something wrong here. It's not going to let me break out of it. Wait for it to finish. Because unlike using standard sprites in Unity, we're going to need to make a sprite sheet for this. So that's going to look something like this. We're going to merge these layers, copy this into a new file called a width of 2000 and a height of 500. Of course not. Now, one thing that I'm going to have trouble with here when I import all of this is getting it to be the right size. So let me go ahead and kill all of these other files. Perfect. Okay. And so just temporarily what I want to do is I want to add on here a new color like this yellow. And I'm going to use this on the background here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this over here. And now that I know its positioning, I can merge these two. And now I can just paste this star right on top, like that. Okay, we'll do that again for the next one. So we want to merge these two layers. We're going to create a new layer. I'm going to change the color to be like a blue. Dump this one in. Merge these two together. Unmerge it. Get rid of this. Take my star next time and drop it on. Okay, the next one, we're going to take these two layers here, merge them together, add a new layer. Change the color. Copy that one in here. Merge these two together. Paste it in. And then we'll take just the star. Bring that over. And the last one is going to be this one here. So we want to take these two and merge them. I want to add a new background color. Paste it in here. Now I want to come back over to this one. Merge these two together. Take this layer and dump it on top. And then finally undo this last one, get rid of the green. Take just this layer, paste it in, and move it on top. Okay, now we can get rid of all of these colorful layers. And we're done. So this is going to be my particles PSD. And we'll export this as a PNG here into particles PNG. Here it is. Bring this one in here. Here are my 4 particles. We want these to be sprite. Pixels per unit are 72. It's bilinear with no quality restrictions. And then on my particle system, down here on my texture sheet animation, I can add in the particles sheet as sprites. Now it doesn't know that these are multiple, so let me look at this particles in my sprite editor. And we're going to change this thing to be multiple. And we want to slice automatically by cell count. And we want to have 4 columns. So we'll apply that. Now, I don't see them animating. So, if I was to add this as a material, we're going to call this a particle material. Oh shit, I'd say particles, unlit, mobile particles additive. And now I can add in this texture. Oh, I think I do it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I change the lifespan to be like 2, so they don't last very long. Sorry, the lifetime to be 2. And the speed to be like 0.15. Let's make it a little faster. 0.85. 1.5. It appears that they're animating now. So what I want to do is I want to change this to have some rotation on it. That's just spinning it on the Z. I want to rotate the whole object though. To be this way. Because what I want is for this particle to, well, this is coming off of a particle when it gets placed. So let's increase the duration to be like 3 seconds. And our speed to be 2. Our max particles will be 20, and our emission, we can leave it at like 5. We want to do something where we do a color over the lifetime. And we're going to change it so that at 50% it's full, at 0 it's 0, and it's 0 again there. And this way we can have a faster die-off here. Okay, we don't need to have a burst on it or anything like that. So the duration will be like 1 second. And let's go ahead and change our start color to be just like slightly yellow. And then when I look at my start speed, let's do a random between 1 and 2. Let's do 1.5 and 2.5. The start size of, oh, it's interesting, 0.85. I wonder if I can decrease the size radius to be like 0.15 and reduce the angle here. Just leave it random. Okay, for our rotation, we're going to put this between 2 constants, which will be 0 and 360. Let's emit more at a time. So maybe something like that. If I look at my game camera, I can see what this actually looks like. Seems like it's quite a few particles here. So let's drop this down to be like 10. And this to be like 2 or 5. I liked 5, but let's change the size to be like 0.55. And now we'll get rid of the looping on it. and save it. Now we can try this out. We're going to move our particle system here to a prefab. I'll make a new folder for it called prefab particle systems. And now we can have this at 0, 0, 0. Perfect. Okay. And so now what I want to do is when a line is placed here, what I want to do is I want to say for each of our lines, so for each one of the lines, so on piece placed, we want to add in here a piece scriptable object called piece. And we'll make that a piece script. And we'll call that piece placed. So I want to do a for each on the args.piecePlace.blocks. And what I want to add up here is a new global manager.poolManager.take object from the pool of my pool manager.base object type. And we're going to say that's a particle effect piece placed. And so this is now needs to be the new object called effect, and we want to say effect dot transform dot set the parent. We don't want to do that because that happens when we take it from the pool, but we want to say the transform dot position is equal to your block transform dot position. So let's check now. When I look at the pool manager, we have our new piece placed effect, which is piece placed. So when I run it, says that I forgot to instantiate piece placed. So back here on piece script, when I add this piece to the board, this is my, now it should work. So it worked. It's a little slow. It doesn't really like start the way I quite wanted it to. If I look at this again, these things are being instantiated under Pool Manager. Cool. So when I look at my effect, I want it to have a burst at the beginning. So in my emission, we're going to say that it can emit 25 at one time. Which looks something like this. That's better. That's much more like what I'm hoping for. And we'll start it at like a 2, so it's a little faster. My start size, we're going to make that on a random between two constants from 0.45 to 0.6, 0.35 to 0.55. And so now when this is done in the game, it's still too slow. So let's look at this again. Instead, I think I can add a emission burst. Try that. I feel like they need to start much faster. Yeah, like that I like. So let's try it again. It almost feels like a little too much at the moment. So let me drop my number of units down to be like 5. Now, maybe what could make this fun is I could make these things, instead of have a speed, we could give them a velocity in a velocity over lifetime here. Like that. That's in the wrong direction. But we also want them to be applied to gravity. So let's try that. Well, you can definitely tell it's coming out of each one of them now. I'm not happy with that radius, though. There we go. So let's go ahead and up this radius to be like 2.5, so it's real. like that. Let's up this angle to be 70. And I think that'll work probably pretty good. Let's try it out. So it seems to be coming off of each individual block right now instead of the piece itself. So over here where we're adding the piece to the board, I only want to put this at my args.piece_place.transform. And that means I can up this effect to have a max particle size of 20. 16. My velocity over the lifetime, we want to do a constant between 8 and 12. Let's give that a try. So it's not coming off the center of the piece, so we do that by going place piece.center. And on this one, this particle system, I can now change the width here to be 2. Sorry, I forgot to add those 2 positions. Try it again. So it looks like it needs to be a negative from the center. Ugh. Is it local position? It's probably local position. So here it is. It's at 7.5. It shouldn't be there. It should be at so it's the effect position. So that means that this dot position So this one is too far over. It should be at just 6, right? Not even that. 5.5 or 5. It should be at 5.5. One thing I notice is that this angle is far too large. Same with the size, needs to drop back to 1. Let's try that. So this is now always coming off of the bottom. Where is this effect being instantiated? So it's always coming off the 0 area right now. So if I go and I look at my piece script for my center, we're going to change this to be called local center. And then I'll have another one here called center, which is based off position. Let's try that. Now it has even no idea where it's coming from, eh? We're going to try this. Plus X and then plus Y. Still looks like it's putting it in the bottom. So what if instead of doing it this way, when we instantiate this thing, hey there's Zachary P. What keyboard do I use? This is a Bloody keyboard. The brand is called Bloody. This is Light Strike. So here we want to say that it's my effect.transform.setParent to be my args.pieceplace.transform. And then we want this to be my local center, local position. Ah, says Zachary. Yeah, it sounds pretty nice on the microphone, I've noticed. Still. If I look at this piece placed effect, it's not accounting for the rotation. It wants to be there. So on my pieces, looks like I do have a center point there. So we're going to add in a public transform here called my center. And I'm going to change this to be called relative center. And then when I look at each one of these, it appears that center has indeed been set. And then we'll set it here like that. That should have adjusted all my prefabs, and it did. Let's give it a go. There we go. Now things are coming out of the center of the objects, and I'm happy with that. We want these things to sit on top, right? So on my particle placed effect, let's move it to be a 20. I wonder if that's the right direction. Kind of hard for me to see. They're still going behind. So if I look at this again, my particle pieced effect, on its renderer with this texture sheet animation, where do I get to see let's make a quick change on this effect and make it loop for now so I can fix it. Cool. Is it in front? Only some of it, I think, right? Yeah, only some of them are in front. So this must be doing this in a 2D or in a 3D. Yeah, it is. See how the Z is a factor? So if I look at this, under shape, if I shift this Y to be 0, where did it go? Okay, now when I look at the shape of this thing, all of these should be on the same z-axis. So we will remove the looping from it and try it again. It's kind of hard to see. To me, it looks like they're all on top now. Yeah. So that's a pretty good effect. I'm okay with that one. The next effect that we want to have is I need to actually add a script onto here. So in my editor, we're going to open up a new script, and I'm going to call this a piece. We're going to call it an effect piece placed particle script. And we will clean up all of these locations of our scripts in a little bit. Now, what I want to do is I want to look at the Unity documentation for a second, because I want to look for particle effect Unity scripting. And we're hoping to find an event that gets exposed. Of course not. So we're going to have a public, we're going to have a protected particle system called particle system. And we want to say that this is a type of require component, which is a type of particle system. And then in my virtual void awake, I want to say my particle system equals a get component, which is a particle system. Now I'm wondering if there is any sort of an event on here. So we want to Unity detect when particle system duration is over. It just wants me to calculate it. So in that case, you could do a protected virtual void awake or start. And I'm going to make a protected virtual enumerator called a particle animation coroutine. And all you want to do is your particle system dot start lifetime plus your particle system.duration. And this is a yield return new wait for seconds. Main.start lifetime? What is that talking about? How do you stream your keyboard? Asks the Malaya? How do you pronounce that, if you could help me out? I use a Node.js app, which takes keyboard inputs and just displays them on the screen. So I want to say particle system Unity start lifetime deprecated. So it's particle system.main.start lifetime. Hey, the Malish, thank you so much for that follow. I appreciate that. If you have any questions, make sure you pop them into the chat. It's Arabic for it's okay. Ah, I understand. Majelish. I think I got it. That's a great way to remember it. I appreciate that, man. Because start lifetime here is okay and not the random between two values, because our particle system has a fixed lifetime per particle. And now when this is done, we're going to do a debug.log destroying. And then I'm going to do a GameObject.setActive to be false. And in my pool manager, I'm grabbing one which is not active. Where are you from? Majelish. I'm getting it. All right, here we go. Give it a drop. You can see everything turned off real quick. I don't ever see it turning off. So here, we're going to bring this one up. This is wrong. We want to put it right on this one. And the other thing is when this gets placed, I want to put this on my global manager.pool manager.transform. Because I just want it to set the position automatically. I don't want to have to worry about it. So now you can see they become active, and then they go inactive again, right? So you never started the script. That won't work. So you need to have a protected virtual void start, where we do a start coroutine of my particle animation coroutine. It says destroying, destroying, destroying. So it's turning off that. It's not turning off the parent. Okay, which means that this particle effect needs to be like this. It needs to be public. We don't need any of this stuff. Like that, okay? So now what I can do is in this piece placed effect, I can add my particle system piece, bring in my particle system, and then we can delete it from here. We see they're all off. After the animation is over, they should turn themselves off and go back into the pool. All right, that's our first animation. I'm gonna take a short break. I'll be back in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. When we get back, we're gonna add the animations for line busting. We're probably gonna do something around the same thing. We may also add in these particle effects some kind of like a dust particle or something. Or light. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them into the chat. Also, make sure you check us out, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com, and I put all the videos up at youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com. I'll see you guys in just 15 minutes. Thanks so much.